Hey everybody, Victor here. And for today we have a nation guide that takes us all the way back to Europe, to the lowlands, with Holland and the Netherlands. So let's go ahead and begin. And of course the best place to start with any of these guides is in the estates and privileges. Now you have the monarch generators, the loyalty generators, you have religious diplomats, because the plus 25 opinion will keep you out of coalition territory early on, which is always nice to have. And then you have down here private trade fleets. Don't grant the free enterprise, it's not really going to help you. This gives you enough loyalty, but the light ship cost and trade power will make it so you make so much money, especially as either Holland or the Netherlands, because you are going to be the trade empire. This is a privilege you're going to probably keep the entire game. Now there's only one other thing really worth talking about when it comes to the estates and privileges, namely grant your privileges, notably the monarch generators, taking yourself to 0 crown land, then seize land. The reason why, if you do it in that order, you'll get 5% crown land. If, however, you seize first and then grant these privileges, you end up with 4.999. I don't know why it does that, but again, it does, so just do it in the right order of granting privileges, then seize, and you'll be fine. With that being done, it is now time to talk about the military. Now your military, as is kind of the norm with these guides, is fairly easy to quickly set up. Take your army, move it to Amsterdam. Take your navy, move it as well to Amsterdam. The reason why is you have to get your independence from Burgundy. And your army, even if you build it up before you declare, is not going to win that fight. Not at first. Instead, you have to back up, turn on the defensive edict, right here, for local defensiveness to make this fort take as long as possible to siege out, while whoever supports your independence comes to help relieve the siege. Hopefully they don't get through and take out your army. They can, and you can be fully sieged, and it will absolutely drive up your war exhaustion. But either way, you have no way of using your military to stop Burgundy, so don't even try. That being said, let's talk about your diplomacy. Since you start off the game as a subject, instead of looking for allies who would be roughly your strength, such as Munster or Brunswick, instead you're looking for people that want to attack your overlord of Burgundy. And the people that want to give him a black eye tend to be pretty strong, such as France, Austria, and Aragon. And if you look in the macro builder, the people that will support my independence from him are France, Austria, and Aragon. The problem with this is that that's actually a very lucky start. There are a lot of people that can rival Burgundy, not many of them are going to be actually useful. The ones that are useful are Castile, Aragon, France, and Austria. The others are England, who will support your independence, but not actually send any troops. Milan and Venice, who will support you and will actually send troops. The problem is both of them are relatively weak compared to Burgundy and will lose that fight. Then you have the Ottomans, Hungary, Poland, Bohemia, and Lithuania, who just will not support your independence no matter what you do, and Denmark, who will after a lot of improved relations and will win, but you're just sitting around and waiting for a while. So there's a lot of people that could have helped, but generally won't. And then there's some people that absolutely will, and it's going to depend on how your game starts off on whether or not you'll have them available. Now the ones you're looking for and hoping for are Austria, then France, then Castile, then Aragon. Castile is over Aragon because of the Iberian wedding. France might end up breaking their alliance with you eventually, and you want Austria because you're hoping he makes you an elector, because if he does, you will not get kicked out of the HRE when you form the Netherlands. And I'll talk about that later, but for now let's just stick where we are. Now, here's the thing. If you end up starting the game with just England and Venice, though, as being people that will support you, there is actually a way to gain your independence, even though England will not actually send troops, and Venice won't be able to win. And that is the fact that Burgundy freaks out. You see, right now I have France, Austria, and Aragon willing to support my independence, and I can grab 2 of them right now. If I do that, though, I will not have to fight for my independence. The reason why is Burgundy will look at me getting support independence from France, they'll see that and go, well, that's pretty bad, but I might be able to win that fight, so they'll keep the personal union. But if I grab Austria as well, they know they cannot win. The math in terms of the amount of troops available is just not in their favor. So they will break the personal union and let you go. They can do the same with England and Venice, you just have to build up a lot of troops first. So by doing that, you can get your independence without fighting. That is not preferable, though. The reason why is you want to be able to break these two guys free so you could attack them soon. Otherwise, you have to wait until the Burgundian inheritance happens and hope they get released as independent tags, which is a crapshoot. The other thing that happens is if you get released from your personal union without fighting, the people that support your independence do not become your allies. So if I have France and Austria back me up, and I get released from my personal union, I do not have France or Austria as an ally. If I fight for my independence, though, I have both a French and an Austrian alliance, which means I'm untouchable from pretty much anybody. Nobody, not even really a coalition, is likely to fire because nobody wants to fight that. So what you need to do is, instead, you can only ever get 2 people to realistically support your independence. The way you do it is, you get the first one, wait till you can declare war against Burgundy, pause, grab the second one, and declare without unpausing. By doing that, you will be able to bring both France and Austria, as long as they're both so willing, into fighting Burgundy. And that's basically what you're doing for diplomacy. Because at this point, you can't get any other allies, you have no rival slots because you're a subject, so just find who is going to be willing to support you, grab the strongest one you can in the order of Austria, France, Castile, then Aragon, or whoever else is available, and then grab the second one right before you declare. And if you don't want to actually declare, build up as many forces as you can, grab whoever you can, and I mean possibly, whoever you could possibly grab, and hope he releases you. Otherwise, you may have to restart. But with all of that being said, that is your diplomatic starting situation. So now, everything's set up, let's go ahead and unpause and wait until I can declare war against Burgundy. Now, I did realize that I have forgotten to talk about one specific privilege, so I wanted to talk about that before I actually get along with this. And that is, eventually you're going to want to grant this privilege, just probably not until after you're done with all of the reformations. And that is this religious culture. You see, you're not likely to be expanding too far outside of the Germanic culture. And then on top of that, there's not many other cultures you could accept other than French or possibly over here, the British culture group. And by taking this religious culture down here, you're able to drastically increase your profits and increase the manpower, drop unrest, all of that, as long as you have accepted or Germanic culture group provinces with your religion. So this is something you can take later on. You're just going to need more crown land and be willing to take the influence on it. It's not a bad privilege. Just be sure you do not take this early, because the last thing you need is to take this and suddenly half your provinces being converted because of a center of reformation that you didn't account for. So it is something that is worth mentioning. So I just wanted to mention that first. Now it is time to go ahead and I should be able to. Yes, I am. So I'll grab the French support of independence. And now I'm going to go ahead and declare. And it looks like they just got Oldenburg. So this should be relatively easy for my 2 now allies to go ahead and handle. Now you're going to have a completely random guy spawn. I've had really good ones and really bad ones. No matter what, you're going to have low legitimacy. So if you want, you can make him a general and hope he just passes soon to get rid of your legitimacy problem. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but you may want to just for the unrest reasons. But with all of that being said, it is now time to unpause the game and have this play out. And since I'm largely sitting up here in Amsterdam and not doing anything, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording because that's even more boring than watching me sit on a fort. So I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back. That was an exceptionally boring fight, as you can tell by the fact I took absolutely 0 casualties, whether that is through fighting or through attrition. They didn't even take my fort. They stood on it for maybe a month and a half before the Austrian army came over here and pushed them off of it. So yeah, that was boring. But the good news is it is now done. Now, because I was doing nothing, I have no war participation, which means I have to give them a lot of land down here. Give whoever it is that helps you as much French land as you possibly can. You want to have this land up here in the lowlands area as your own. Down here, it's not really that important, and hopefully you'll even be able to get a Burgundian court to release a vassal that you can just use to reconquer it. But for now, just give them the land. In this case, I gave Austria 1 province because they were fine with that, and the rest went to France because they did all of the heavy lifting. As you can see, I'm getting independence, and I'm releasing Brabant. I have enough war score to release one of the two. You need to focus Brabant, not Flanders. The reason why is because you can form the Netherlands, and that requires Breda, which is a province in Brabant. You need nothing from Flanders. So if Flanders ends up getting inherited and not released, which is rare, before you can actually take it from them, it's not the end of the world. So do not panic if that happens. However, Brabant can be a lot more annoying if, say, Austria ends up inheriting it and takes this land for itself. So just be aware, make certain Brabant is kicked out of this union so they cannot be inherited. Everything else is fine. Now, you used to be able to take Breda, start another fight, and core it up in the meantime. That is not working in this patch. You pretty much need to full annex and release somebody as a vassal or reconquer cores, which there are none in this area. So just release them, you'll come back and get Breda later. With that, this war is now done. I now have some allies who are, okay, a little bit improved, and I'm able to move on. Now, during that fight, I did get claims on both Utrecht and Gelre, which are the two provinces I need. So I'm going to go ahead, find which one is the weakest. Looks like Utrecht over here is an easy target. I'm going to build up my forces, because now my force limit is higher, and I'm able to fight and take over Utrecht. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. I will see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. As you can see, the conquests of both Utrecht and Helra are done. I full annexed and released as a subject Utrecht over here. Helra I'm doing something slightly different with. And there's a couple of reasons for it, so let's kind of go into it, because doing it this way is incredibly beneficial to you if you're playing in the HRE, so I want you guys to understand what I'm doing. So, as you can see, I'm taking Helra. There's a big reason for that. First off, it lets me form the Netherlands. I want this province. Upper Gelders is nice, but not really required. Second, I can still release a vassal up here, which will give me my second and allow me to take all of my privileges that I want to have. So that's 2. 3, I'll still have a Reconquest CB, so I'll be able to take that later, which will then let me take it for less aggressive expansion. On top of that, by delaying the aggressive expansion for this province, I can then avoid coalitions because I'm letting my improved relations tick down over time. And then also, I'll have the less overall aggressive expansion by using Reconquest. But the last big reason is that I'm in the HRE. If Cologne has a province over here that belongs to somebody else, and I have them as a subject, Cologne may be forced by the Austrian Emperor, who's my ally, to give it back. Which means I might be able to take one province and the aggressive expansion for this 115 development province and get this 16 development one for free. If I don't, I can still use the Reconquest. And this is what you're trying to do. Up here, I'll be going after Friesland, and I'll give Munster this land, and take this one myself and release them as a vassal, and likely get this province for free. When I take on Brabant, I might ally Liège, and give them these 2 provinces, or at least Brabant, and take these 3, re-release Brabant, and get Brabant itself back through unlawful territory. Or, if not, Reconquest, which will be even cheaper. And this is all you're doing. You're setting up your allies to be your future targets, yes, but they're not exactly going to be strong. And with that, that is my early expansions played out. So I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on, and as you can see, I got a claim on England because they're my next target. So let me go ahead and piece this out, because now it is time to go after the next person, which, as you couldn't tell by the spy network, would be England, because I have a claim on Calais. If for whatever reason France has already fought England and taken all this land here, this can go on for a bit longer, but you should still be fine. But what you're going to do is you're going to declare in England, and you're going to call in France. You are not taking Calais. While Calais is nice, that is not what you're trying to take. What you're aiming for is Pale. And you'll be able to take it without actually invading them. So I'm going to go ahead and declare this, and yes, it looks like they outnumber us, but trust me, me and France have this handled. And I will see you guys in just a second. Hey everybody, Victor here. So full disclosure, I did have to Alt F4 and reload my backup save because I did forget to release Helra before I attacked England. Yeah, I was dumb. Do not do what I did. Remember to release your vassals, especially in the HRE, before you declare on anybody because that could be very, very bad. But with that being said, I just wanted to disclose it to you guys so you guys were aware and that you guys don't do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and declare on England now, and I will see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So because England still had land down here in France, as well as not piecing out Portugal, I had a lot more war score than I would probably have otherwise. So instead of just taking the Irish land as well as their subject over here, which is not that much war score, I'm also able to take Calais, war reps, and trade power, and still some money as well, just to weaken them a little bit more. Whether or not you have this or not, it's gonna kind of depend. However, do take the Irish land and don't worry about them attacking you for it. Even if you do not have Austria as an ally, you're still a member of the HRE, so nobody's gonna touch you. And then if you have France, nobody's gonna touch you, not even England, because France outnumbers them. So just take the land in Ireland and get ready to expand up there, as well as the stuff over here in the HRE. And with this, that is now done. So I'm still trying to get some claims down over here, but I do have Friesland ready to go, but they have Denmark as an ally, so I need to get my other allies willing to help fight Denmark before I go after them. Other than that, it's just simply waiting for truces to expire, and then I'll be able to go after Brabant and then after Flanders. So I'm going to pause the recording again because honestly, this is the time where I'm waiting for aggressive expansion to cool off a little bit, and then for my truces to expire before I can really continue there. And I also have to get claims up here so I can start expanding in Ireland. Your main goal, though, is to take Ulster. Once you can take Ulster and you have enough ships in supply, you can blockade the Irish Sea. And that's all you really need to do. Just like Japan, just like a lot of countries that rely on their navy, as long as you can get here and cross over before the English Navy can come and stop you, you're golden. And since you're Holland, or eventually when you do it the Netherlands, your navy can stand toe-to-toe with the British Navy. It absolutely can. Do not be afraid to do so. But with that, time to pause the recording because it's time to do a little bit more setup. See you guys in just a little bit. So I realized I did not talk about dev spawning Renaissance. Unlike a lot of tags throughout the rest of the world, when you're in Europe, it's not that required for you to dev push heavily for Renaissance. As you can see looking in here, you get quite a number of spread just by having provinces nearby, of course, that have Renaissance, but more importantly by being European and having 20 development in your provinces anyway, 0.24 per month. Add to that the actual spread that you have just from having development, and then in advancement effort, I would have just generally 2 per month, which means it's really, really fast just deving to 20 and letting it spread naturally that way. However, I do still recommend going to 30 because of the Splendor objective, but other tags like Korea or Hawaii or Timurids or whatever it happens to be, they usually have to dev to 35, 36. Just go to 20 or 30 and you'll be fine. With that though, that's all I needed to say. Time to get back to it. And welcome back, everybody. So I had about a 10-year delay between me having this war and my last one because, well, my ruler and my consort died in about a 2-month period. So I had to wait for my ruler to come of age because I didn't want to Alt F4 for that. So time to go ahead and begin. I'm going to go ahead and declare Encore because I put a claim down here just so that I make certain that my actual war goal is where I could easily take, namely France could easily take it, while I fight on Ireland and hopefully hold the channel. If I can't, oh well, they'll get the land here, but that really shouldn't be enough to make up for what they did, and I also have a fort on Ulster, so even if they do cross, I should be able to get at least a defensive fight in woodland terrain, especially if I can get there before they do, because that way, yeah, they're taking a crossing penalty into woods. So, time to call them France in again, and let's go. Now, again, they're going to have a navy. With any luck, it should not matter, but I'm going to occupy their 2 friends here and take them out. If they are actually allies, then I'll go ahead and actually, in the middle of the fight, annex them. If not, I'll just take them at the end of the war. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording because, again, just have to wait for sieges to be done. And me sitting here on Ireland while this is held, not exactly exciting. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. And welcome back. So in that Second English War, I ended up taking their 2 allies on Ireland out, taking their war reps, taking their money and piecing them out, because it's not worth going any further. At the end of the day, my force limit is not quite up to scratch to be able to take England out on their mainland. So instead, simply take them out, push them off Ireland so you can consolidate the rest of it, and then move back into mainland Europe. As you can see, I'm not quite done here yet, but it's now time to take out Brabant. Now in this case, I'm still calling in all my allies, but Liège here, well, they're going to want some land. As you can see, they want at least 2 provinces down here, and I'll be more than happy to give it to them, because that way I can release Brabant as a vassal and take those back myself later on with less aggressive expansion. So I'll call them in, and here we go. Oh, gotta wait for my diplomat to come back. There we go. And time to begin. So again, as per usual, just wipe people out as quickly as you can. Interesting. Liège decided to walk around. But you shouldn't have too much problem with this by this point, because realistically, you're going to outnumber them, and if you do have any allies like France, they will absolutely punch them for you. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording again. See you guys in a second. Welcome back, everybody. So as you can see, Brabant is both still alive and not my subject, so something went wrong. See, unfortunately, on the 50-plus Holland runs I did to test all of this, I didn't make this one error that I just made that's pretty big. So I wanted to explain what I did wrong so you guys don't make the same mistake. You see, both Antwerp and Brussels, right here, were both forts, and Liège said they wanted both of those provinces. I had no problem giving them to them, because I was just going to reconquer them later. Seems simple, right? So I focused on these 2 provinces and let them do the sieges, because, yeah, why take the attrition? Unfortunately, that meant that they had the occupation and I had no control, because I did not leave one guy here before they arrived to grab control of the siege. Because I never had occupation at the end of the war, I couldn't manipulate it so I could make certain Brabant was taken out, and Liège, fearing aggressive expansion, would take one of the 2 provinces, but not both. As a result, I could not full annex Brabant to release them as a vassal, and on top of that, because Brussels was the capital, I could not force vassalize them, meaning I either had to take the aggressive expansion and potentially have to hand back unlawful territory, which does not remove the aggressive expansion, or I had to peace out. So I tried breaking my alliance with Liège in the middle of the war, which took a stability hit, and then I even scornfully insulted them, hoping that that would do it. And it didn't work. As a result, yeah, I had to peace out because eventually I had an unconditional surrender come up, and if Liège wasn't going to peace out, I wasn't going to take massive war exhaustion trying to get this to go further. So I'll come back and deal with Brabant later. I may even ally Liège again, because they may take Antwerp then, making it, again, less aggressive expansion for me, but this time I will make certain I control the occupation. But let's move on, because, well, I can't fix what I already broke, and I can fix it later. So next is simply Flanders. Now, England, because they are mad at me, decided to warn me, which means if I attack anybody they border, well, they're going to be awfully mad, and they're going to come and defend them. So Scotland up here, if I went to attack them, England would come in and defend. Well, so would France, so I'm not going to be doing that. Instead, I'm going to go after Flanders. Flanders, who is a personal union of Burgundy, who also borders England. If I attack Burgundy directly, yeah, England's coming in. But if I attack Flanders, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. As you can see, England doesn't come in. So I'm able to attack who I want as long as it's not actually Burgundy. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of Burgundy now. Potentially take them as a vassal, though depends on whether or not I actually can or if it's worth the aggressive expansion. But at least take Flanders. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So I had somebody standing outside my window with a leaf blower for a while, so I couldn't record. Instead, I decided I'll just keep playing and then catch you guys back up once he goes away. So I did attack Burgundy, taking out Flanders and then these two provinces directly, and then re-releasing both Picardy and Flanders as vassals. I then went and took Upper Vildras back from Cologne, gave these two provinces to Munster and annexed Cologne to release them, because then, yeah, I have even more things to reconquer. Now, because I have all these vassals floating around, that means they're not exactly loyal. Helra is because I gave them their province back, but the others are not. I will end up integrating Helra, which will then make these guys loyal so I can integrate these two, and then I can focus on further expansion into the HRE. Specifically, I'm going to be taking Friesland, re-releasing Friesland, giving this province to Munster, and then breaking that alliance so I can reconquer all three provinces, and at that point, I'm pretty much solidly where I need to be again. Now, I do need to finish consolidating up here in Ireland, but I'm not quite there yet. Not exactly the highest priority. I just want to get this stuff secured. And because I took out Cologne, that did free up an electorship slot. I did this hoping that Austria would pick their big ally up here to make an elector. He made Augsburg one. The good news is that once you can get Cologne out of the picture, the next one is Trier. And then you have Mainz. And then you have the Palatinate. So there are a number of electors right next to each other over here that you can take out, hoping that Austria will give it to you because they only have so many people they can give an electorship to. So keep going through. They will eventually, with any luck, give it to you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording because I got to integrate people, make other people loyal and integrate them, and then I need to start and expand a little bit more and consolidate Ireland, just so I can get myself enough of an army so I can take on England on their own islands. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. As you can see, I integrated Flanders and Picardy over here. Then I went after Brabant, again bringing in Liège. This time I controlled the occupations, and I was able to hand them over one at a time, seeing how much they would take. They will take two provinces, which is even better, because that means I'm able to do this and have nobody in my coalition, because Brabant will cease to exist. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then release Brabant back into the world with them liking me, because I didn't touch them, I never fought them or anything else, meaning I'm going to be able to integrate them a lot easier. Finally, I have to take out Friesland over here, because I've been putting it off because of Denmark. But at this point, I don't think Denmark is really that big of a threat, especially if France is willing to come in with me. So I'm going to take them out, try and hand Munster off with this other province, and then break these alliances and get my land back. In fact, Liège, right now, you are no longer useful to me, so off you go. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it, because I have a little bit more fixing to do. And then I also have to go and finish off the last guy over here, because I used the wrong CB. And then I'll be able to start building up to be able to take on England. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So I wanted to bring you back real quick because Breda was forced to be handed back to my vassal of Brabant from Liège as unlawful territory. Again, this doesn't always happen, but it is absolutely worthwhile to do, especially with the larger tags if you can at all, because again, less aggressive expansion and you can get it for free. So I just wanted to point that out because I don't see a whole lot of people ever doing this. So absolutely take advantage of it, because if it can avoid a coalition for an extra 20, 30 years, fantastic. So I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So Friesland is now my vassal. On top of that, I got enough war score taking out Schleswig and Holstein, as well as Jutland, to take the Faroe Island up here. And just to say it, if Faroe Islands are not options for you, you can take the Icelandic provinces up here, because any of which will allow you to release Norway, which will have cores on about a third of all of Scandinavia, and give you plenty of expansion opportunities, even going so far as invading the Russian lands when you are done. Now, as far as Munster is concerned, break that alliance, time to reconquer the land, and then take the old alliance you had with Liège and replace it with Brunswick. The reason why is Brunswick will likely want Munster's land, and if they do, you can do exactly to, after you're done with Munster and you get the reconquest with them, you can feed their land to Brunswick and then do to Brunswick what you're about to do to Munster. Namely, you take what's left, release them as a vassal, and then reconquer Munster's land from Brunswick. And this is basically what you're doing all the way east and then eventually south throughout pretty much all of the HRE. So have fun picking them apart. Now, you will still be getting some aggressive expansion while doing this. As you can see, I don't really have a coalition, even remotely close, but I do have some people that really just don't like what I've been doing. As you see here, Lorraine, while not in a coalition territory, really doesn't like me. So what I do instead is, since the beginning of the game, you take your merchants and you assign to the trade nodes next to yours. This is because it's going to contain most of the people in the HRE, and you have them on established communities. This 15% improved relations, in addition to your advisor of 20%, will mean you have so much aggressive expansion reduction, you're likely not to see a coalition as long as you're reconquesting things until late Age of Reformation, if you see one at all. Now, there is one other thing to really talk about and your choices on how you play this game. Specifically, England. Because you can do one of two things. Either you can invade and conquer them directly, which once you have land on their actual island, namely Ayrshire, their navy doesn't count for anything. And taking out Scotland is usually pretty simple because their only real protection is France, and if they are your ally, call them in on something else. Because once you have them in on a different war, they will not protect Scotland, and Scotland is going to be dwarfed by you at this point. Which means you're on the English landmass. So their army really shouldn't be matching up to you at this point. As you can see, I'm at 44 force limit. They are at 38. So I should be perfectly capable of wiping them out right now. The thing is that if you form the Netherlands, there is a mission that allows you to get a restoration of Union CB on England or Great Britain if they happen to form it. Which means suddenly you're able to take all of England or Great Britain from coast to coast and turn it into a personal union subject. The problem with this is twofold. First off, you want to own the English Channel yourself. You do not want to be sharing it with a personal union for 50 years. On top of that, their mission tree, while it is very, very nice, at the same time, you have your own. You don't necessarily need to be doing their missions too, though it can be useful. But more importantly, you can get that as a subject of them with them, and you can conquer all but their last couple of states, subjugate them, and make them return all or revoke all of their cores on the rest of the land. So you can get that anyway without any real difficulty. The issue here comes down to forming the Netherlands. You see, if you form the Netherlands right now, as a non-elector, you're kicked out of the Holy Roman Empire, which means all of that German expansion, you can't do it anymore. Not unless you fight the Emperor. And if the Emperor is Austria, he's probably going to outnumber you. On top of this, he owns Hungary, which is kind of nothing right now, but that could be very important in your game. He might even have Bohemia, which is even more annoying. So being able to form the Netherlands now doesn't really help you. Instead, you want to keep expanding in Germany, unless you are an elector. If you're an elector, you can go ahead and form the Netherlands whenever you really want to, because you're not kicked out. So how you form the Netherlands as an elector is simply you take out the other electors, because Austria will give it to their allies, going up from the order of who is weakest. Right now, the Palatinate, they're already an elector, so you don't need to worry about them. Then there's us, there's Landshut, there's Ragusa, who they're really not going to give it to because they're not in the HRE. So you just got to go through here. Once you're done annexing stuff for Cologne, reconquesting at that, you get rid of them, then you push into Trier, then you push into Mainz. Because by taking out these two electors, you're opening up slots for hopefully Austria to throw you the electorship. And then once you get the electorship, well, congratulations, you're now the Netherlands, and you can get that personal union if you really want. But with all of that, that should be what you guys need to know. Because realistically, once you control England and the Netherlands, especially if you can push into Germany, you're going to be the strongest power in all of Europe. Probably the world. So you guys really wouldn't need any further guidance after that point. But if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I will definitely be making more of it. If you want to see a particular country be covered or a particular mechanic, let me know in a comment below. I'm still looking for more ideas. I have some people asking for such as an economic guide or a trade guide, and I would have no problem making those, as well as another EU4 SAT. So just let me know what you guys want me to do, and I will definitely take care of it. But with all of that being said, thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.